Hi, I'm Isabel from Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees. I lead the events group and had the wonderful opportunity to meet Emily and Naomi Webb earlier this year. Actually met Emily last year, I think. And I'm so delighted. They are Cheltenians and brilliantly work for Good Chance Theatre, who are doing such fantastic work. I think many of you are here because you know about that work and you are excited to learn more, just as I do want to learn more about what they've done. Good Chance works with refugees and displaced people around the world. They build theatre domes where local communities and refugees come together, work together. They are famous for the play The Jungle, multi-award winning, absolutely fantastic, performed across the world. And really this year they are starting the Walk with Amal, which is such a brilliant project. Together with Handspring Puppet Company, they've built a 9 feet, 3.5 meters tall puppet of a young girl, 9-year-old refugee girl, Amal, who's going to walk from the Turkish-Syrian border up to Manchester, raising awareness for displaced children around the world between July and November. And it's absolutely impressive that they've somehow not been put off by a pandemic. So I can't wait to hear more from these two power sisters. And I'm also really, really pleased that we've got Camille here with us today from the Everyman Theatre, who I know many of you know as well. She's been working with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees for a while now, over Zoom, in person. She's done it all. So thank you very much. Camille's going to talk about the local work she's doing for the Walk with Amal this year. Now, I was going to learn Naomi's and Emily's biographies by heart, but they're so good that I'm going to read them because it's so impressive. Naomi has worked as a producer for internationally renowned theatre company Complicité, with worldwide tours. She's worked with the Rose Theatre Kingston at the Oxford Playhouse, and she's led Good Chance Theatre's growth as executive director since 2017, including over 300 presentations of award-winning production The Jungle in London, the US, and the production of 7 dome theatres across the UK, France, and America, absolutely worldwide, and the creation of the International Good Chance Ensemble. Emily is the head of poetry at Good Chance Theatre, which is the most wonderful job title I think I've ever heard. She's led national creative writing charities First Story and Ministry of Stories, and as director of First Story, she co-founded with over 20 partners UK's National Writing Day and reached over 80,000 young people across the country. At Good Chance, she ran their dome theatres and refugee centres around Paris in 2018, and she founded and runs Good Chance's groundbreaking poetry collective, Change the Word, bringing together refugees, asylum seekers and locals to share stories with each other and the world. I've attended one of these events and it was absolutely fantastic. If there are new ones, Emily, let us know and we'll definitely want to go. So with that, over to you, Emily and Naomi.
Thank you so much, Isabel, and it's our absolute pleasure and honour to be here. We're really happy to be involved with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees. And as you said, I'm the Executive Director of Good Chance, and this is Emily.
And I am the Head of Poetry at Good Chance, and that was such a wonderful personal welcome. Thank you so much, Isabel, and thank you for all of your support of the Change the Word Poetry Collective as part of this as well. It's been such a joy to have your smiling face on events that we've been doing. We are so humbled by the work that Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees does, and I think it's as much our honour as it is anyone else's here to be able to share what we've been doing at Good Chance and with the Walk with you this evening. We'll talk more about the walk, as that is what we're here to do, in a moment, but we would love, in the spirit of the walk being all about acts of welcome across borders, across communities, across moments between people, we just wondered if we could possibly make the use of the wonderful Zoom chat function to ask you what acts of welcome you have seen in the place you live, whether that's Cheltenham or elsewhere, big or small, that you would like to share and celebrate in the spirit of celebrating all of the different things that welcome can mean. So please do share in the chat anything that springs to mind when you think of the word welcome, and we'll let that run as we go through this evening. Before we talk a bit more about the walk, we would love to share a quick film with you, which just gives you a bit more of a sense of where Good Chance came from. We started in the jungle refugee camp in 2015 in Calais, and since then, as Isabel said, we've grown and grown. So I think this film says it better than we could. So we'll just play this brief film with you to give you a bit of a sense of where the walk began.
Just to say, it is a fundraising film, but that's not the purpose of it playing it. It's just a great intro. So please, we're not here to raise money, don't worry. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Stephen Daldry, chair of Good Chance Theatre and one of the directors of The Jungle. Good Chance began in 2015 when two young British playwrights travelled to the unofficial refugee camp in Calais to bear witness to an unfolding humanitarian crisis and decided to build a theatre. The first Good Chance Theatre Dome was founded on the belief that, yes, refugees need clean water, food and adequate shelter, but they also need a place to think, to hope and to dream. Since Calais, we built domes in places new people are arriving where integration is difficult and expression is stifled. We've worked with thousands of refugees from across the world, creating plays and poems, dances, but ultimately, and most importantly, creating hope. The Good Chance Ensemble has gone on to support many artists from Iran to Sudan, from Zimbabwe to Syria, enabling their voices to be heard and their stories to be told. And through shows like The Jungle, we are able to bring untold stories of those who have fled their countries to audiences all over the world.
We could be here for a day or a year. But if we're going to live peacefully, you and I must stand together.
Good Chance has come a long way in 3 years, but the founding principle that expression is a human right underpins everything we do. Our ambition is huge, but we can only do it with the support of a community, with people like you. Please make a donation to Good Chance and help us extend our work with artists, audiences, and people from across the world. We believe that everyone deserves a good chance. Help us to give it.
And as Naomi said, ignore the donation request at the end. It's just the most succinct way of sharing, hopefully giving you a bit of an insight into what Good Chance does. And we are kind of, as you can see from that film, we really grew out of that first dome in Calais. And since then, we've built domes in Paris, in New York, in San Francisco, Coventry, Sheffield. And most recently, we were just about to build the dome in Tijuana on the US-Mexico border just before lockdown hit. And we will eventually do that, as well as bringing the jungle back. Nay?
And as Emily said, the jungle was created out of our experiences in Calais. And when the camp in Calais was demolished, we came back to the UK and started to speak to people who we'd met there, who were living all over the country, and said, do you think this is an important story that should be told? And the overwhelming answer was yes. And so we created the play The Jungle with many different people from 13 different countries, including 4 people who had been living in the jungle as refugees and were now in the UK. And you'll see that one of the characters from The Jungle is someone who we're going to be hearing a little bit more about.
As well as The Jungle and the domes, we also run the Good Chance Ensemble, which is how the poetry collective that I run, Change the Word, fits into everything. And that is us working with a collective of artists from all around the world, many of whom are part of the walk. And the idea is that we use that as a chance to collaborate with people who are from countries everywhere and living in countries everywhere, create exciting art. And you will see in a film that we'll play you later, one of the puppeteers that we work with. And that is one of the many inspirations for how the walk began.
And so in The Jungle was a story about the camp in Calais, about the many, many different people who were living there, humanizing that story really of people who'd come from all over the world and the volunteers who went there to kind of help to run this very ad hoc camp. And one of the characters in that play was a little 9-year-old girl called Little Amal. She kind of wandered around the stage on her own quite a lot. She just had one line, which was school. And she was sort of looked after in quite a sporadic way by different members of the camp, but she was on her own, and she was representing the 200,000 unaccompanied minor refugees, children who had travelled on their own across Europe. And what we wanted to do after the jungle was to explore the story of that little girl a bit more. And so we're going to play you a video now, and then we can delve a bit more into the world of the walk.
Oh, sorry, I think I just need to reshare with optimized. Oh, I have. Great.
Chérie, je m'adresse à toi. Avec toi, chérie, la vie est belle.
So from that little idea to follow the story of Little Amal, a 9-year-old girl, and to travel from the border of Syria and Turkey across Europe and through the UK, came to this huge project. We thought, what better way to lead this journey than with a 3.5 metre tall puppet, so no one could miss her. And we have collaborated with Handspring. If you're familiar with Warhorse, they made the puppets for Warhorse. They make beautiful puppets where you can see the puppeteers. There's no machinery. It's all about the human connection to the puppets and the empathy that they try to create through that. So with them, we've created our huge little girl. And in fact, we've got 3 of them, just in case anything happens to her along the way, which we hope it won't, but you never know. And obviously we've been working on this for over 2.5 years, so long before pandemic was even something we ever thought about. And we started off by visiting places. We actually spent quite a bit of time in Lebanon speaking with people, and then also visiting places along the route, some of which have ended up in the route and some of which haven't. So we've been to Serbia and North Macedonia and Kosovo. Unfortunately, we couldn't go everywhere, but that kind of shows the breadth of the network that we're trying to create through this project. And we started talking to people who were living in those places, whether they had lived there all their lives or had recently arrived as refugees and asylum seekers. And as with the jungle, we said, is this something you'd like to create with us? Is this a story that you'd like to tell, on this case, to the world? So we've been talking to individuals, to artists, to arts organizations, civic society, mayors, schools, and humanitarian organizations. We have a huge network of grassroots organizations working with refugees and asylum seekers, and huge NGOs like the IRC and the UNHCR. And we now have over 250 partners each bringing their unique cultural perspective. And as you'll see, it's a walk of welcome. So the idea is that every place that Little Amal arrives in, she will be welcomed by local people, by local artists, by local organisations, and they will share their unique perspective, their culture with her, and she will also learn from them and pick up little things along the way to take with her and to share along this huge route. And we think, especially with the pandemic, it's even more important now than ever before to be together, to create connections for people. We want to create connections between different countries, between different towns and cities, between different organisations, between individuals living in each of those places, to give people a reason to talk, to come together. Everything is going to be outdoors and free. So it's very COVID secure in that respect. And to celebrate together and to show what we mean by welcome. And Emily is going to give us a little idea of what some of those events along the route comprise of.
So as you can imagine, having seen the map on that video, we can't necessarily talk through all the events because we would be here until about the walk starting. But I'll give you just a flavour of some of the things that Amal is going to be doing. So when she starts her journey at Gaziantep in Turkey, Nay's going to show us the route that she's going on. She will be greeted by Arabic lanterns that light up her route along the way by all of the people in that community to kind of guide her as she begins her journey. Then she's going to go through places from the next stop is staying with the nomads for a night in Turkey and learning traditional nomadic crafts with them. So everything from tiny villages through to capital cities. So in Athens, she'll have a bright red thread of yarn that she's going to tie to a lamppost and take it with her through the city, a la the myth of the Minotaur, to make sure that she doesn't lose her way. And on that route through Athens, she's going to encounter lots of other people who will have these red threads of yarn themselves to kind of create this tapestry of yarn and connection and travel in all of its forms, and until she feels that she is as connected with the community that she's in at that moment as they all do to each other. Then she'll go through onto Rome, for example, where she will have nightmare visions, and we felt it was really important in the walk that not everything was beautiful and rosy and happy, because this journey is something that is incredibly hard, as we can all imagine, and has huge challenges, especially for a 9-year-old girl on her own. So she will have moments like in Rome where she has nightmares and has to process what she's been through and what may be coming. Then, for example, she'll go on to Paris and she will meet some of the people who are in our Good Chance ensemble called La Troupe, who are people that you saw in the video about Good Chance, who we've been working with for 3 to 4 years now, having met them in Calais and Paris. And in doing so, all along the way, she will meet people who've come to the country they're in as refugees and asylum seekers and be welcomed by them in whatever form they want to welcome her. Of course, then she will be coming to the UK, and the closest places to Cheltenham are Coventry and Oxford. So we thought Naomi is going to just give you a sense of what's happening in Oxford. So in Oxford, she's going to meet Alice, which I'm so excited about as a literature geek. So 2 fictional characters meeting each other, and the encounter between Alice in Wonderland and Amal will be as magical as the original books themselves. And that's in partnership with the wonderful Story Museum that has just reopened in Oxford literally in the last few weeks. And in Coventry, we're working with Coventry City of Culture, and there she will go to the cathedral ruins that were bombed in the Second World War and explore what that process of rebuilding and reconciliation has meant from a war that obviously happened in and to this country so many decades ago, and has comparisons with the war that she is trying to is escaping in Syria. So in each place, we have had conversations with the people who live there, with the organisations who live there, and said, how do you want to welcome Amal? What does it mean to you to welcome her? And what is unique about the place that you live that you want to share with her. So it's really exciting to have Camille here who will speak in a bit about what's going on in Cheltenham and Gloucestershire to do that act of welcome.
You. And you'll see we'll post a link to this website as well, but you can sign up for the events news, and you can sign up for news along the whole of the route, but you can also just select the places that are very close to you to have targeted information about how you can go along and join those events if you would like to. But Little Amal's journey is only a very small part of what the walk is about, and actually what we really want to do is create a huge network of friends, of connections, of people who are inspired by her journey, whether that's inspired to have a conversation with their neighbour or their friend about this, whether it might be to start volunteering with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees or volunteer to them or get involved in the local community. It's really about sparking conversation, about bringing awareness back to the fact that so many people are still moving, and especially, of course, to children. And I mean, there's many stats about child refugees and what's happening in the world. I think we're happy to share those with people if they want, but really what we want this to do is to focus in a different way, and to look at the humanity behind what's happening and try to create a celebratory event which sparks conversation in a positive way. Amal she's sassy, she's cool, she's a bit vulnerable, she's a child, but she's our heroine, and we hope that young people wherever they're from in the world will look at her and see a role model in her and think, wow, if she can do that, then I can do that. And talking of young people, we do have a huge education and outreach programme which you can get involved in absolutely anywhere in the world. So that's all available for free online. If you work with young people or if you are connected to any schools and you want to share it with them, we're also now part of the Arts Award. So that will be a recognised kind of qualification. But it's a beautiful activity pack. It's been designed by a wonderful Syrian artist called Diala Brisley. Emily's going to give you a little snapshot of it here. It's 73 pages of brilliant activities and conversation starters. It can be for primary or for secondary. You can do it with your families, with your kids, with friends, and of course you can see if your school or community group can get involved as well. So that's a really easy way for everyone to get involved, and again we can share the link to be able to access that online. And we're also going to be making a series of videos which are called Make with Amal. So the lanterns that Emily mentioned in Gaziantep, our very first event, we're going to be having a video so that you can learn along with Amal how to make those lanterns. And there'll be 6 more videos of other things that she's doing along the route. And we are also inviting people to welcome her wherever they are through a digital platform. So you might want to write her a message, record her a message, sing a song, write a poem, and we're going to be collecting all of these welcomes for her online through the hashtag Acts of Welcome, and there's a page for that on our website as well. So we're hoping to have kind of huge response from across the country and across the world of welcoming Little Amal, and something that can continue long after her little walk is over. So if you're here, please do, if everybody here speaks to one person about the walk, but particularly about refugees who might be living in Cheltenham, about how you might be able to get involved, how you might be able to welcome people, then that would be a brilliant outcome for us. And it's those small little changes as well as huge big ones that all add up together to make a difference. And if you'd like to learn more about the education specifically, if you're involved in education, then we can put you in contact with our education producer who's called Alice, and I think Emily can post her email address as well.
Thank you, Nae. We are really excited that Camille is here as well, because Camille and the Everyman Theatre, along with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees and Gareth and many other partners, have been doing the most amazing work to prepare for Amal's arrival and to welcome her in various different ways, and we're really excited to hear more from Camille. So without further ado, I will hand over to Isabel to introduce Camille, so that you can hear a bit more about what's going on in Cheltenham and around these parts that we are in.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful and incredibly moving, and even from the videos you showed and the bit you said, it was so clear that the children love Amal, that interact with her you're already changing people's lives, and I can only imagine what the walk will do for people, and I hope everyone here will get involved. I did put the donation link in the chat because I think it's a wonderful project. They didn't put me up to this. I just want to say it's such a fantastic project. If you can support it or share the link, and every pound I think is an extra step that Amal can take. So thank you very much. There will be questions at the end. So if anyone has a question, please put in the chat or raise your hand afterwards. I think we're quite a small group, so however you feel more comfortable asking questions. And now we're moving on to what's happening in Cheltenham. Camille, let me spotlight you. Where are you? Thank you so much for joining us today. Camille is the Arts Manager at the Everyman Theatre here in Cheltenham. She only gave me a very small description, but I know she's done a lot more. She works with Gloucestershire Action for Refugees and Asylum Seekers and done plenty of creative projects for them. And she said she does a bit for Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, but really she's done so much. We have community picnics where Camille has organised all the activities for the children, from circus skills to face painting. It's just been fantastic how through these activities she's made sure that children who've had a difficult past become engaged and come to life. And she's even managed to do that over Zoom. She's done theatre workshops for children over Zoom in the past year, at a particularly difficult time. She's also been working with our hub for people seeking asylum and made a huge difference in that way. So thank you so much, Camille. She will show you pictures, but she's also made sure that Amal can be found in town. And so I'm very pleased that I get to hand over to you now, Camille. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to move my little homage to Amal there so you can see her, hopefully. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Thank you, Isabel, for a fab introduction. Okay, so I'm Community Arts Manager at the Everyman Theatre, and I've been working there for 21 years. I'm a dinosaur, and it's been a fantastic adventure to start working with Garas back in, I think it was about 2005, 2006, something like that. And more recently, since 2017, working with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees. And it's just been a privilege. And so in the past with Garas, I've been doing film projects with their young people and providing entertainment at various events and so on. And then more recently with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, we've been doing drama to promote English language, and that's been great fun to have that shared experience with each other. And doing Zooms has been a new thing for me, doing Zoom drama workshops with the young people and with adults with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees as well. And it's just been an absolute privilege, and I've loved every minute of being involved with you all. So moving on, so I did some voluntary work with Good Chance in 2019 in Leicester. It was fab to see Emily and Naomi there, and working with their free dome. And since then I've been absolutely hooked on everything that Good Chance is doing, and would thoroughly recommend you getting involved and volunteering at some of their free dome events, perhaps in the future, etc. Their poetry events that Emily was talking about. So all great fun and really fulfilling work. So I knew about Amal and the walk, and thankfully my chief exec said, have you heard about this? I was like, yes, thank you. And he's like, we should support this. Could you come up with a plan? So I came up with a plan quite quickly, and I chatted to Garas and Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, and we came up with a plan, and amazingly he said yes to all the ideas, which was fantastic because it was a pandemic and the future of theatre is so in the balance. that was fantastic that the senior management team and the board agreed to all of it, which is testament really to the fantastic staff and board at the Everyman Theatre, and so big thanks and shout out to them. So so what are we doing for the walk? How are we welcoming Amal? So I've got some great organisations that I'm linked in with, and thankfully it's been really easy. So I think I'm going to screen share so you don't have to look at my face any longer. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that? Nod please, Isabel. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Hopefully it's optimized enough. So the first thing, there's various strands to our welcoming Amal. The first strand is workshops. So this is a picture of some drama workshops that I'm doing with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees. These are 3 volunteers, some of whom are present tonight. They're going to be shocked seeing themselves on. Obviously, we've cropped it so we can't see the other people involved just because of permissions, photo permissions. So we do drama to encourage English. So we do that with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees with the adults, but also we've done some sessions with the young people as well, linked in with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees. And I do other projects, and I've been looking at the walk with other projects. And so I've been doing a project since January with the Star College. We're making a film all about Amal. I've been working with the Youth Theatre, doing raising awareness. We've been looking at Amal and her emotions and so on. I also did some work with the cathedral. We did some drama workshops on Zoom, looking at Amal's journey and so on. So that's workshops, and there hopefully will be more workshops ahead. That's the first part. The second part I wanted to show you is, let's get that up again for you. Brilliant. Hopefully you can see the mural. So the Everyman commissioned a mural from Cheltenham Paint Festival. Unfortunately, they're not doing their festival because of funding issues this year, but thankfully we were able to commission this mural from them. Hopefully you can see that mural, everyone. So that's on St Margaret's Road, and it's a lovely interpretation of stimulated from, it's a stimulus from the illustration that's on the Good Chance website, that they've used some of the images that you saw in the film and the illustration from the Good Chance website there to create that mural. So that's on St Margaret's Road, on the Ring Road. So hopefully raising awareness, hopefully people will Google Walk with Amal, and hopefully we'll find out what that means. And it has been working. People have said, yes, I saw that and I checked it out straight away. So hopefully it's working. Okay, so the next project that I need to tell you about is our piece of spoken word. So I'm just going to share the next slide with you. So hopefully you can see a picture of JPDL there. He's a local rap and spoken word artist, and we've commissioned him to create a piece of spoken word inspired by the walk with Amal. And he has written a fantastic piece, about 3 minutes long. And we've been working with the amazing Flux Films, who are a local film company, and with the Music Works to create the soundtrack. And that's going to be coming out in Refugee Week next week. So please check out the Everyman Facebook and so on. And that will be coming out in, that's really exciting. Hopefully there's another picture of him there. Hopefully that's going to be raising awareness with a different group of people, a different age group. So trying to get the next screen up. The next project is the sculpture. We asked for a sculpture to create an artist to create a sculpture about just a displaced child, and we're happy to commission Natasha Housego, who's a Cheltenham-based artist, and this is her working on a piece that has gone to Yorkshire. This is not our sculpture, but this is what our sculpture looks like at the moment. It's just a big piece of wood, and obviously no trees were harmed in the making of the sculpture. She just uses wood that has fallen or has had to be managed, like forest management and so on. So no trees were harmed in the making of the sculpture. So I'm also bringing this back to you. So we're making a sculpture, and we would like you all to be involved. So I'll show my next slide. So our idea is that it's a displaced child, but when you look closely, it's not just one child. You'll see that it's actually hundreds of children. It's made up of hundreds of children. So we're asking community groups to make peg dolls, and these peg dolls will be attached to the sculpture. So when you come up close to the sculpture, you'll see that it's actually representing the 31 million displaced children across the world. So what I'd like you to do is, if you know any community groups that you think would like to make peg dolls, they don't have to be covered in material. You know, I think perhaps it would be better if they were just basic felt tip pens, so quite easy, just a pen and a peg. And we'd love these back. So I do have pegs, so you can request that for me, and I'll give you my email address at the end. And finally, that sculpture is going to Gloucester Cathedral in October, and touring hopefully to more venues before ending its days at Nature in Art in Gloucester. So if you know of any venues that would like it, let us know. And that's my email address there if you would like some pegs. We hope to be doing more workshops with Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, and also we would like to be doing more rap projects with JPDL, and we hope to do some rap flash mobs in Oxford and in Manchester when Amal comes, if Good Childs don't mind us being a bit creative and doing some raps ad hoc, but we need to discuss that further. So that's, I don't know how time's going, but that's kind of it for now, for today. So please let me know if you would like some pegs that I can send out some batches to you for the various community groups you're involved with. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Camille. That was brilliant. Yeah, and I mean, all three of you with the various organisations are doing such fantastic work and so creative. And I think it's absolutely mind-blowing in the different ways you've taken this project, from the peg dolls and the wooden sculpture, the wrapping, the education packages, but also the lanterns on the way. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to go to gallery view now, because I mean, I do have a few questions, but does anyone else have any questions for our wonderful speakers today? Okay,
I think if everyone wants to see gallery view, do they need to click gallery view themselves? Possibly.
Oh, thank you.
So, no worries. I actually also had a very practical question for Camille, if that's okay, to start off the questions. Do you want schools to do the pegs as well as community groups? Is it kind of anyone and everyone?
Yes, definitely. We've got St Edward's School and Stage Door Learning already making pegs for us. But yes, definitely schools. We'd love schools to be involved, definitely.
We will ask our many teacher friends. And also just to say, Camille, what you are doing is unbelievable. It's just this kind of litany of incredible, creative, beautiful, varied things. And when you first told us, sent us this list of all the things you were doing, we were like, well, surely she means one of these things, but no, you mean all of them. It's amazing. Thank you.
well, I've got a fantastic senior management team on board, so all thanks to them.
Wait, Chris, please. Yeah, unmute Chris.
Hi. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think although we see each other a lot and all the rest of it, in terms of planning and organising things, one of the things that we can sort of draw upon are the pretty well established links that we have with both primary and secondary schools in Cheltenham. And I mean, we can talk about this sort of later and all the rest of it, but we do have a kind of a network which up until sort of lockdown and all the rest of it was pretty active. And so I think it would be really good to look at strategies for actually involving the individual schools, both at primary and secondary level.
So it's probably good time to mention that Chris is our education lead at Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, and in times when it's possible, goes into schools together with Cal and Lots on the call and holds assemblies to also actually with a little girl just showing to the children what it means to be a child and a refugee. And I was really struck by how lifelike Amal is, and I was wondering, Emily and Naomi, can you tell us anything about how Amal was made? How she came to, I can't say made, she does seem like another human being.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, we won't play it now, but if you are interested on the Walk with Amal website in the gallery, there's a whole, I think it's a 4 or 5 minute video with Basil and Adrian from Handspring Puppet Company who explain all about it. But she's a hybrid of many things. So somebody is in stilts inside her, and so they're carrying the whole weight of her, so she's got to be made from the lightest material possible. So she's made from a lot of bamboo and carbon fiber, and each puppeteer, so we have 12 puppeteers, and 3 of those people are actually people who have travelled as refugees across the route themselves and are now resident in Europe. And each of those puppeteers has a bespoke backpack that carries that then fits into Amal and carries the whole of her. And then inside we have something called the harp. So not only is that person on stilts carrying the weight of Amal, they're also manipulating her face. So they have all these little strings which are just here in front of their face, and they pull her eyes and her mouth. And then we have two more puppeteers, one on each arm, and then one to support her back in windy weather. And so those 3 or 4 people work together as a team. And as I was saying about Warhorse, the fact that you can see the puppets and that everybody's working together, and Basil and Adrian from Handspring Puppet Company, they call it group mind. So actually the majority of the rehearsal process is about those puppeteers all learning to become Amal together, so that they move as one, they breathe as one, and that they can start to kind of to create her as a personality, even though there's 4 different people who are moving her. And then we also have things like sessions on how to cope with hundreds of children all running around you whilst you're on stilts operating a face. So that's all to come. We start our rehearsals a week on Monday, which is very exciting.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Cal and I'm from Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees on Education and Events, but I've actually got a question from our chair, Nat Jenez, who had to leave. So this is for Emily and Naomi. Please can you answer this for me? What is the personal impact it's had on you two working not only in Good Chance, but meeting displaced people from all over the world? So the impact it's had on you personally.
That's an amazing question.
Well, she's not here, so
I'll WhatsApp her afterwards and say thank you. It's profound, I would say, if it was one word, a huge impact. I started working with Good Chance in the Dome when I went as a volunteer to build the Dome in Paris, and I couldn't leave and ended up running it and haven't looked back. And I think for me, the sense of genuine connection that I have felt with so many people from all over the world through the Dome has been life-changing, and it has given me perspectives on the world that I never thought I would have, and it has built so many real friendships with people that I am still in touch with who live in Paris through the Change the Word collective. And I think one of the things that Good Chance really kind of celebrates is celebrating difference and how different we all are as human beings, and how that can be a positive thing and something to really relish and cherish. And I think my first-hand experience of that is just how revelatory it can be every moment to have friendship with people from so many different places, and to really be able to find all of the ways in which we're different and we can shine a light on the world in a different way for each other, as well as celebrating how obviously we are all the same and we're all human and we share that common connection. Nay, what about you?
It's such a beautiful answer. I couldn't have put it better myself. And I think all those things really are true for me. So I suppose to bring a different perspective to it on top of all of those things, which is certainly the most important aspect for me, is it makes me think a bit of The Jungle, actually, that we had a lot of people in the audience who came to see it, or people who were saying to us, aren't you just preaching to the converted? And you say that might be a large majority of our audience might think of themselves as liberal and open-minded, but actually what we learned through that experience and through the audience members that we spoke to was that actually people didn't really understand the reality of what was happening, of why people were moving, of what they were leaving behind, of the human beings behind all those headlines that you saw in the media. And so I think my other take on it would be that actually I saw myself as a liberal, open-minded person, but this really allowed me to understand to a much greater extent, which is still tiny compared to what's happening in the world, but the reasons that people move and the impact that it has on those people, on the people in the communities that they're coming into, and the ways that we might be able to try and live together, because we are so much stronger together than we are apart.
Thank you, that was fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your very personal experience. Yeah, do we have other questions? Alison, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what else might happen in Cheltenham to celebrate this, and whether the council's involved, because I know a couple of years ago they signed up to be a town of sanctuary, but I haven't heard anything else about that since then. But yeah, I mean, if the council as well as community groups could get involved as well, and the Everyman obviously, then it could be fantastic opportunity for awareness raising.
Thank you, Alison. I don't know, I think Chris wants to respond to that, actually. He's raising his hand. Chris, I
mean, all these things that are becoming involved in, just so that everybody sort of knows, and to take on what Alison has been saying, is that we're currently in talks, about to get into talks with the Borough Council about how we turn the whole concept of being a city or a town of sanctuary, how we turn that into something. And so we're literally at the stage with them of trying to work out a 5-year action plan of things that we might do together. Alison, you might like to become involved in that.
Well, I'm a Quaker, and Quakers are a meeting of sanctuary in Cheltenham, and so yes, I'd very much like to encourage that sort of thing and help in any way.
Thank you. I don't know, Camille, if you want to say anything, or if this is just an occasion for you to exchange email addresses and continue the conversation.
Well, we are getting together with Gloucester Culture Trust and with various organisations, Strike a Light in Gloucester, Music Works, various arts organisations in and around particularly Gloucester, to have the conversation as what we do collectively as arts organisations about this, and that hasn't happened yet. So hopefully, Alison, there'll be more things happening, more councils involved. When our sculpture is of the displaced child is in the cathedral, we hope that there's going to be more events around that, talking about shared lunches around the sculpture with the mayor and so on. You know, various ideas have come out. So yeah, so hopefully more things will come from these discussions we're having, but they haven't happened yet, unfortunately, because things are moving a bit slow with Zoom and so on at the moment. People leaving roles and so on, unfortunately. So things are moving a bit slower than I'd hoped.
I mean, you've clearly put together a brilliant program in a very short time, Camille. Yeah, it's exciting what more there is to come. It's already brilliant, fantastic. I'm looking for more hands. Any raised hands? I mean, one question that I have, because it struck me, Bonnie and Emily, is how you got all these international partners involved, because there's so many people from so many countries, all different sizes. How did you make that happen?
The answer is a lot of Zooms. It's interesting. So when we first started planning this, we were traveling to places and meeting people, and literally we were cold calling some people and saying, will you meet us? We were using connections. We were sort of getting in touch primarily with theatres that we knew, and then asking them to introduce us to other organisations. And we have some really brilliant charity and humanitarian partners, and in particular Choose Love, who work across the world, who sort of introduced us to the grassroots humanitarian organisations that they work with in all of those places. And we just went there and started meeting people. And we had a lot of trips planned when the pandemic struck. But in a way, obviously it's always better to meet people face to face, but actually working on Zoom has allowed us, I think, to meet so many more people. And our artistic director, who is an incredible theatre maker called Amir Nizar Zuabi, who is based in Jaffa, I think he gets about an hour off in the morning because of the time difference. And then he's literally on Zooms from his 8 a.m, 9 a.m. until his 10 p.m. every single day, and honestly has been for 2 years, and that's really not an exaggeration. We try very hard to make him take time off, but it doesn't work very well.
It means that we have to encourage him to, well, he has his family time with his kids while he's on the Zoom, so we now know his kids really well, and they are both around Amal's age, so they have become real inspiration for the character of Amal. So it's amazing to meet the real Amals through meeting his kids on all of those zillions of Zooms that he's on.
So yeah, it's a lot of personal relationships, and we have a brilliant international producer based in each of the countries that Amal is walking through, who work very closely with Amir Nizar as well, and just a huge kind of ever expanding network of people who are promoting this and sharing this and spreading the word, which is what it's all about. So we're very excited to get out there and meet them in person.
Fantastic. Not much longer now. Final call for questions. Looking through. Well, thank you so much. You've all put your email addresses in the chat and your presentations. I just want to briefly say, Cheltenham Welcomes Refugees, if you want to volunteer with us, if you don't already do, please get in touch or follow us on social media. We've got our first in-person meeting, I want to say, since COVID next week with the book group. If you've read Refugee Tales, a wonderful, relatively short book, but quite brings the experience closer. We'll have more events over the summer. And we'll also, inspired by Amal, start a fundraiser that will launch in July. Keep an eye out for that. We'll try to walk or cover 8,000 kilometers by walking or moving in some other way, inspired by the little girl on this great journey. So we'll certainly post about that. It'll be through our newsletter. You'll see it there. Thank you so much to our absolutely wonderful speakers. I have to say, you moved me to tears. It was so wonderful to hear about the work the three of you do with communities here in Cheltenham, across the world, moving so many people, touching so many people, and I can't wait to see what all three of you are going to be doing and achieving over the time of the walk. Thank you so much for your time today, and take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thank
Thank you
you
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
For
you
joining
all.
us, everyone.
Bye, everyone.